Good. Well, welcome to the Leadership Lounge. Here we are in March's Leadership Lounge, and we're going to be looking today at the power of partnering. And I have three wonderful guests joining us again today. So I have Rachel Ingham, who is the Director of Supporting Champions and one of our marvellous associate coaches here at Everyday Leader. We have Ray Warner, who is the Director of the Together project at the Mix in Stowmarket. And we have Owen Williams, who's the Director of Westview IT. So it's great for you to join us. Thank you for joining us today. So, Rachel, let's start with you, Director of Supporting Champions. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
So we're a people development company, really, and we run various events and teamwork workshops. We also have a podcast, not rival to yours, don't worry. Tiny one, and we also offer a coaching thread alongside to help support people in whatever field they're in.
Yeah. So is it just champions that you support, or is it to help people be champions? What's that all about?
Well, the champion side of it comes from my husband, who used to work in high performance sports. So he used to work with elite athletes, Olympians, etc. And I used to study high performing teams, the sorts of teams where you don't want individuals to make a mistake. So air traffic control, for example, you want them on top of their game most of the time. Yes. And or ambulance service workers, which is also another high pressure role where high team performance is key. And then we suddenly realised, gosh, that's interesting. I'm studying that, and you're looking at something similar, but in a completely different genre and field. And so we just sparked ideas of each other, and the company evolved from those sorts of conversations.
Yeah, fantastic, brilliant. And we will all tune into your podcast too now to learn some of those techniques. So that's fantastic. Thank you, Rachel. And Ray, Director of the Together project. Obviously, the word together sounds like it's ideal for our theme today of power of partnering, but tell us a little bit about what it is that you do.
So Colin, the Mix is a youth charity based in Stowmarket, and initially the Together project really was all about partnering and fundraising. And then in the last 2 years, the programme developed slightly to incorporate a employability and life skills project for young people that weren't in employment or education and needed support into their next steps. So perfectly in alliance with all the partnerships we'd already built in the local community, primarily businesses. So it was a great synergy.
Brilliant. And that's a wonderful word there, synergy, in terms of working with local businesses and partnering with them. So I'm sure you'll have a great insight for us today. So thank you for joining us. And then we have Owen, Director of Westview IT. So tell us a little bit about what that means, being a Director of Westview IT.
Absolutely. So I founded and run Westview IT, who is the IT support company you won't have to call. And we provide a proactive outsourced IT department for small businesses all over the place. It was originally just within the Suffolk area, but now with the adoption of new ways of working, we've been able to expand across the UK.
Fantastic. And I can highly recommend Owen and his ones you don't have to call, because on one occasion, when I did call him as well, he was just brilliant. So if you do need some IT support, then Owen and the team at Westview are the ones to ring. That sounds a bit like an advert, and Owen isn't sponsoring today. It's just, if when you come across something good, let's tell other people about it. Great. Okay, so thank you guys for joining us in the Leadership Lounge today as we start to look at our topic today around the power of partnering. We've done a series over the last few months around different powers, and this one today is really focusing on partnering and the importance of that for us in leadership and when we're working, the power that can have. And partner has many different contexts. So you can have a dance partner. I hasten to say I don't have a dance partner. If you've seen me dance, people normally get injured. But good dancers can have a dance partner. You can have a business partner. You can have a life partner. Each of them with the aim of being able to do something that perhaps you couldn't do by yourself. Some might say, actually, dance partner, I would be better off dancing without anybody. But the idea is when you're with a dance partner, you can do things that even better. And it's built on the principle that combination of skills can make you stronger. Now, I have a partner, my wife. We've been married for nearly 30 years, and she tells me regularly that in reality we are both stronger and better because of that partnership. I think she's probably particularly pointing that at me. But in reality, that is true, actually. I've found that to be the case. I think I'm better because of being with her. But we're not here today to hear all about my wonderful wife, though, and the impact that she's had. I've got 3 guests who partner with others in business or know some of the benefits from the work that they do. And so it's about unpicking some of that together so that you as listeners can understand the benefits of partnering and how you can utilize that, how to avoid some of the pitfalls as well. So let's just explore with my guests what partnerships you've been involved in and what you've found to be the benefits. So Owen, if we start with you, what partnerships have you been involved in?
Absolutely. So a lot of our supply chain is actually partnerships. It's not the traditional supplier and customer approach. We partner in every aspect, and we get specialists in, and we work directly with our customers and with our suppliers, and we expect that partnership arrangement as opposed to the traditional supply chain. We also work very closely with an organization in Stowmarket called the Innovation Labs, which is the example that I want to bring today, because it's a local community in Stowmarket that we've been a member of, and that partnership has developed our business as well as helping the other the community within the labs help each other and develop along the way. It's a very powerful partnership that we're a part of.
So what you got there is a group of, I assume it's all based around IT type services where you're just looking out for each other and partnering. So you said it's benefited your business. In what way have you seen it benefit your business then?
Absolutely. So it's a technology hub. So it's all tech startups and technology-based businesses, which we are right amongst all of the time. We find benefit from this, not just from the labs itself, who provides support from a business development attitude and point of view, but also within the community. We actually pass work to each other and from each other. It's a network of trusted individuals that we get to know. We work with them on a daily basis, so we get to build that relationship, which is really beneficial to everybody involved. Brilliant.
And what we'll do is, as we go through our session today, we'll kind of explore what you've done to ensure that's been a kind of workable partnership. So that's great. Okay. And you've seen that benefit your business by working with others. You talked about passing work to each other, and you've got this sense of information sharing as well, which is great. Ray, what about you? What partnerships have you been involved in? We said earlier the Together project is, something to do with collaboration with business, but tell us a bit about partnerships that you've worked with.
Yeah, so when we started the Together project 3 years ago, as I said in my introduction, it was really about partnering and fundraising. And we really wanted to reach out into the wider community beyond the youth charity to try and engage more partners into supporting the work that we do, becoming ambassadors of the work that we do. And in time, that obviously created fundraising opportunities and engagement with the other projects within the mix. And then as we evolved into establishing the Life Skills and Employability Programme, those partnerships really came into their own. We were able to establish partner organisations that could signpost young people to us when they needed the help and guidance. But really, most importantly, we were able to partner with local businesses who could add value to our programme. So it was a quite a diverse range of different partners from different industries, because, of course, we realised that young people want to go into various different aspects of work life. So it was really important for us to partner with a wide range of different offerings. And so the partnerships were business-based, but then we also delved a bit deeper into linking up with individuals from businesses who could then come and deliver workshops for the young people, sharing their expertise, and really kind of helping to upskill young people and improve their chances to sustain and gain and sustain employment in the future.
So it's interesting what you're talking about there is you've been involved in partnerships where you've identified something that's going to be of benefit to the core people that you serve, which is the young people. So you've looked at businesses, but you've also then looked and seen individuals who can add value to what you've been doing. So is that the benefits that you found, that it's added value to the program and the support that you've been given?
Absolutely. There's only three of us in the team, and although the three of us have quite diverse backgrounds in our own experiences, what we really wanted to do was offer such a wide spectrum of advice and some career mentoring and industry experience, just to help prepare young people for those next steps, to get insights that they may not have had before through being at school or being at college, or from guidance from their home. So absolutely, the diversity in all those different partnerships really helped bring the programme to life.
Yeah, great. And I think diversity is something really important. It's something we'll kind of chat through as we go through in this particular podcast. So thanks for that, Ray. Rachel, what about you? What partnerships have you been involved in, and what's been the benefit for you?
Well, I see really two quite dichotomous partnerships, really, in that the first one, obviously working with my husband, during lockdown, we've spent a lot of time together, an unhealthy amount of time together. No, so that partnership and that we know each other at a sort of granular level. We know each other inside out. We know what each other's thinking, doing, working on. And then in contrast to that, my partnerships with coaches through Everyday Leader, for example, or through my own coaching business, getting to know somebody very, very quickly and enabling them to be able to open up and share their thoughts, their internal monologue, for example, knowing that I'm not going to judge them and I'm going to hold them with that sort of unconditional positive regard that we talk about in coaching.
Yeah.
And being able to build that very rapidly, because I might only see somebody for, say, 3 sessions. And in order for that to be effective, that partnership needs to be very constructive from the moment we meet and the first moment we speak. So they're the two sort of really diverse partnerships, I suppose, that I work with on a day-to-day basis.
I think there's some really interesting ones there. One of the things we're going to talk about today is how we learn from the different contexts and blend it into ours to stop ourselves being insular. And what you've talked about there is an insight from coaching, that key phrase, unreserved positive regard, that's really important for a coach. But actually, if we want to transfer that into people that we partner with, there should be this sense that anyone we're making connections with and considering, actually, is there something of mutual benefit here? As Owen and Ray have talked about, actually we're looking at something that's going to enhance both parties. There should be this sense in us of this unreserved positive regard and that wanting to build relationship and find points of connection. And you talked about doing that fairly rapidly. So I think that's already we're picking up some great insights in terms of partnering, in terms of this. We're looking for stuff that's going to be of mutual benefit. Owen's talking about with the labs there, that you're trying to share things with each other, and actually that generates innovation. Hence the title of that, Innovation Labs. It's to share that.
Just to jump in there, Colin, there's also you can also find that partnership and collaboration in unexpected places, particularly within competitors. I build a really good relationship with all of my competitors in the area, and as we've done so and we've gotten to know each other, we all have special niches, and it turns out that there isn't overlap. There is no competition. It's all about collaboration with people, like-minded individuals that think in the same sort of way, in the same sort of industry. Yeah. And you can find that there's some really, really powerful partnerships there that you wouldn't expect, because you would assume that a competitor you would want to avoid, which is absolutely not the case.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I love that principle. Actually, what you're looking for is you're finding that point of connection rather than the point of disconnection. Absolutely. You're trying to find actually where are we similar rather than we become enemies. And I used to work still do work in education, but I used to be a head teacher, and there was this sense, when I first went into it, that this is our school and that's the school down the road and they're the competitors. And I never went in with that attitude. It was always a case of let's build connection. Actually, where can we help? And exactly as you said there, there. Actually, they've got a strength there that could help us, or actually you might be best placed working with them on this particular situation. And just, and then again, that fuels things. You help them, they help you. And that's all part of finding that point of connection. So great. It's a really, really good start there. We're looking for points of connection. We're looking for when we work with people, this unreserved positive regard, two key elements that are part of building partnerships. So then we just think about, so why should we partner? There's a sense of, well, surely I should just be focusing on my own organisation and improving what I've going on. Why should we partner? And there is that phrase, two heads are better than one. But is that the only reason for partnering with something, to share ideas and complement skills? Owen, what do you think about that one? Is that the only reason for partnering?
Yeah, not at all. Not at all. I always find that partnering is whenever you build a relationship with anybody, whether it be within business, you can look at what opportunities lie around that potential partnership there. And we work with, like I say, Westview IT. We work with specialists, and we partner with other providers who provide a service for us, so that we're able to widen our offering around the partnerships that we build. So it's not just a matter of let's just have a conversation and see if we can agree to something. It's about finding like-minded people that think like you do, that can help build your ideas, yes, but also provide you something perhaps that you're not able to do yourself, and you can scope out appropriately then.
Yeah. So you talked about like-minded people that help you scope out. Are we always looking for like-minded people? Or sometimes do we need that contrast, or what is it? Because there's that sense, if we're helping people think about who do you partner, do they just look for the like-minded people that might know a little bit more than you? Or
Sure. So like-minded is a very interesting expression, because that really could mean a wide selection of things. Are we talking about specialisms? Are we talking about skill? Are we talking about attitudes? Are we talking about relationships? For me, it's like-minded. A like-minded person is what are their goal? What are their goals? What are the ethics around the way they work? That to me is really important. That I work with people that have those similar sorts of ethics, in terms of we provide a really, we take great pride in the service we deliver, and we want that to be something that our partners feel for them as well. It's that sort of connection. So it really, in terms of like-mindedness, it's quite a vague expression which covers quite a lot of different things, really.
So what you're talking about there is a sense that you share common values, a common purpose in terms of, as you say, the moral or the ethics of what you want to do. And for you, it's about, the quality of service. They need to have that. But it isn't necessarily that they think the same as you as part of that. Rachel, I wonder just on this one, just from a coach's perspective as well, when we're thinking about connecting with people, this concept of when you're looking for partnering, like-minded, Owen's talked there about similar values, but do you got any thoughts on that one in terms of, kind of your connection in terms of your like-minded or diverse thinking? What's your thought there?
Well, I like the things that Owen was mentioning and sharing common values, etc. It also made me think about my partnership, for example, with my husband, and he has a very different focus in terms of his innate natural focus lies with task orientation, for example. So he's very much action and goal orientated, and I'm the opposite of that. I'm very much people focused. And so we're opposites, essentially, but we also unite in terms of our creativity and the way in which maybe we have specific attention to detail. So whilst Owen was talking about having shared values, I think also it's important to recognise the areas in which you may be opposite, and then acknowledge those, but also find connections, so that those two aspects can connect and flourish and grow.
Yeah. So actually, what both of you are talking about there, it's what sits at the core of both your examples is having core values or principles the same, so that actually what sits at the root of you is not in conflict, but actually then there is an importance in being able to look at things differently. So you talked about when you're partnering, Rachel, with your husband, he looks at things slightly different. He's task orientated, which is slightly different to you, and therefore he'll bring a different perspective. So the differences can be good and can be a benefit because it helps you see a problem or a situation in a different way, but that has to be at the root of this core value and purpose that sits the same.
I think it's about embracing different perspectives. I think that's probably what I was trying to say, that he has a different perspective to me, and we unite the two, and it makes us stronger in that sense.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Ray, what about you? Going back to the two heads are better than one, is that the only reason? What is it for you is important about why partnering?
It was interesting listening to both Rachel and Owen, because I concur with everything they said, really. And the highlight of having that core value really sort of plays beautifully to the partnerships we've built in the Together project, because we've needed the diversity to bring to the table, but we've absolutely had to find partners that had the core values and heart to support young people and their next steps and development in life. So it was absolutely important to have that balance of both.
Yeah. And it's interesting, isn't it, that that diversity is important. One of the things that I was going to raise next is I don't know if any of you guys have read or our listeners have read Matthew Said's book Rebel Ideas, which is a brilliant book, and it talks all about the importance of gaining a different perspective from different types of people, and to bring in that diversity of thinking, diversity of experiences, of culture, of religion, different to yourself, so you can gain this fuller picture, because they'll look at a situation from a different angle. So you kind of talked about you partner with diversity. Ray, can you tell us a little bit more about the benefit that's brought then?
So I suppose the diversity has always been at the heart of everything we've developed with the programme, and even from the early stages of it was myself just running the project to start with. Then when we developed the employability programme, I had the opportunity to employ 2 youth coaches. And for me, it was finding 2 people that could bring different experiences to the table. And I was very fortunate to be able to recruit 2 amazing young youth workers in their mid-20s who both came from quite different backgrounds. One had taken the university route, one had gone down the college and employment route and had some interesting experiences through her employment. So, both of them had added value to bring and a different story to share from their own lived experiences whilst they were working and coaching those young people. And I think one of the important things about our programme, which was why diversity was so important, was that we never wanted the programme to be a one-size-fits-all. Because we really recognise that every young person is unique and has different barriers and challenges that they may face towards moving towards their next step. So actually finding the diversity in the partnerships that we made through our businesses brought just so much range. There were people who had really tough experiences at school, or had gone their own way and developed their own business because of challenges that they faced at school that made them more determined to have their own business and overcome their dyslexia or whatever those issues may have been. And then other people that had taken different routes and had come into their career late, or had a real huge portfolio career before they landed on their sweet spot. So for us, it was absolutely essential to really bring all those components together.
Yeah, and what you're talking about there is particularly some people have got experiences that you haven't got, and particularly if you're looking at an area or a niche where your focus is, it's partnering with people who can bring that perspective and that understanding, which can add to yours. And you talked about your diversity of the people that you work directly with as well, from their experiences enhancing it. Great, thank you. I mean, sometimes this, partnering with people from different perspectives with others can be this catalyst to something new or better. Rachel, have you ever experienced that? Has partnering with someone, brought something, had been a catalyst or a spark to something new or better?
Yeah, I mean, I never imagined having my own business. And so the catalyst for our business was having conversations around what I perceive to be two very diverse areas. And those conversations, we suddenly realised there were common connections, commonalities between the two areas. And from that grew our business. Steve thought, right, let's do this, let's go for it. And we jumped at the opportunity to. And I think working with difference can enhance, can create different perspectives, different ways of thinking. If I think about the different coaches that I've worked with, or the different coachees that I've worked with, some of them dotted around in different cultural pockets, they bring different issues that I might not have foreseen because of the culture they are embedded in. I think that's a catalyst for different thinking and a different perspective. And also when I'm coaching, I can coach a range of people, from students, for example, to CEOs, CFOs, and I think, gosh, what am I going to offer a CEO? What have I got to say to these people? But actually, I find that they're just people and they have the same issues. Confidence, for example, trying to plan their life in front of them, whether a student or a CEO preparing for retirement. They're similar conversations. So with difference, I also think it comes down to the level that actually we're all human. We all have the same issues. And when we dig deep, so when I think about differences, I start to think actually of similarities.
Yeah. So there is this sense, as you say, there's a commonality that we're all human beings. We all eat, sleep, drink, think, and you should say some of those common issues. But what's interesting there as well is you just talked about, particularly in that coaching relationship, you have a CEO and you may or may not have been a CEO as you're sitting with them, and that allows you though to see things from a slightly different perspective that actually illuminates. So actually, again, if we're talking about general partnering beyond the coaching relationship and into working together with business, it is that we will see things differently. And interesting, you're talking about your business there, where actually you come together from two disciplines to potentially create this new discipline. And again, that was a key part of Matthew Said's book. Actually, what can we learn from others? My background's education, but in my current role, obviously leading Everyday Leader, as I work with business, charities, education, I see that commonality that actually, particularly working with leaders, we're all leading. We all actually use the universal language of leadership, but actually there are things we can learn from each other. There's a temptation sometimes that different disciplines think that, but this is what we do and that's what they do, but actually bring the two together and you can blend something newer and stronger as part of that. So, Owen, what about you? I have this image, and you need to correct this image. I have this image of an innovation lab. So I have this room full of techies all sitting in there, and IT crowd springs to mind. So you're all in there doing techie stuff. But yet you talk to me about this. Is this the case? You're all the same, or is there diversity? Not. Yeah. So tell us about the impact of that and any catalyst that's come from that.
Definitely. So you couldn't get a more diverse group of people, to be perfectly honest with you. But there is this harmony that's created from it, in that the idea of bouncing ideas off someone that. So you've got me running an IT company. You've got people that do cloud services. You've got digital transformers that manipulate information for the care sector. You've got people. You've got business coaches. You've got marketeers, you've got all these amazing different diverse areas of expertise that all have a love for technology. That is our common ground. That is what we do. And there is no, like I say, as I was saying before, we're not all the same, doing the same thing. There's no competition. These are all a diverse, wide range of different people doing very, very different things. But like I say, that have that common love for technology and utilizing that to help each other. And to be fair, it's something as simple as having a conversation. When somebody has a potential issue, it's like a peer group almost, where someone has an issue or an idea and they need to bounce this off somebody. We do as a collective. We talk internally. We bounce ideas off each other, and it develops into services. It develops into products. It develops into ideas that we all go off in our separate ways and create from it, which is a fantastic partnership.
Great. So it sounds to me like the board you can't afford. You've effectively got a group of great thinkers that are coming together. And thank you for correcting this mental image I have of all these IT boffins sitting working in a room. We've got this range of diverse thinkers coming from different perspectives, different roles. And you've talked there about that conversation over the water cooler. I mean, it's probably got to be a 2-meter conversation over a water cooler now, hasn't it?
Indeed, yes.
And that conversation that's sparking looking at perspectives. And you talked there about it's created some kind of solutions and different ways of working a business that then has been that catalyst for you working in a different way. So is there anything from those conversations that you can see particularly for your business then has come out of that? So how has, what's been a catalyst or change or direction that maybe your business has taken as a result of that collaboration and partnering?
So yes, absolutely. One of the biggest catalysts for my business has actually come from the Innovation Labs, and that is so there's mentoring. It's an incubator for business as well as a community, and we were able to when I first came in, I was an individual doing a certain selection of IT related work, and a year later I now have an employee, which in itself has been one of the biggest catalysts, let alone the labs. That having an employee has been an amazing catalyst to develop new ideas in itself. So it's caused us to grow. It's caused us to think differently within our business. It's created that sort of it's a support system. So it's done the world of good to us at Westview IT without a shadow of a doubt.
Great. Excellent. So we've talked, as a bit of a recap, we've talked about the fact that actually partnering is about finding some commonality, particularly around core values or core purpose, but actually the importance of having some diverse thinking, but thinking particularly about actually what can this person bring or enhance the work that I'm doing, but equally what can I do for them? So there's this sense of mutuality as part of that. But so if someone is listening to this and thinking about, okay, so I'm going to do some partnering then, because the guys here in the Leadership Lounge have convinced me there's some positive things to come out of this. It's thinking about, what are some of those key things that I need to make sure I've got set up when I'm partnering with someone. Now, I know I've heard of a number of times where things have gone wrong when people have partnered with somebody and it's gone wrong. So how do we make partnership work? What are the key things that if we're going to consider a partnership, going to set it up, what do we need to do to make sure partnerships work? So, Rachel, if we start with you, what do you think are some of the key things to make partnerships work?
I think for me, it's about respecting the basics. The bottom line is having that unconditional positive regard. And from that point, having conversations around what are your rules? What are your boundaries? What are the acknowledged areas that we differ on a basic level? And how can we connect over those? Going down to sort of day-to-day routines, even how do you work on a day-to-day basis? Finding out those sorts of individual things. Are you up early? Are you emailing at 6 a.m? Or are you more likely to sort of wake up around 10 and start going and work later into the day? They're little things, but they can make a big difference if they haven't been discussed. So I think it's being curious about how other people operate, where their core values lie, where their instincts are, for example, and having good conversations around that.
Yeah, I love what you're talking about there is this sense of taking time to find out how each other works. And so I think what I'm pulling out of that, there's an importance about time here, not rushing into partnerships, but taking time to discover that commonality, those core values and purpose. But you're also talking about some of that nitty gritty. Because actually, if you're a morning person, you're merrily sending messages to someone at 7 a.m. and they're like, this is so annoying. I don't even wake up till 9. But if you don't know that and connect that, you're just going to irritate.
I think if you're bombarded and you've suddenly got an inbox full and it's, you're not ready yet, it can feel quite intense. But then if you realise, well, that person's up, that's the way they operate and that's okay.
Yeah.
I operate in a different way and that's okay too. And if you've had those sorts of conversations, obviously this is a more sort of generic partnership as opposed to a more transactional partnership where you're buying and receiving goods, for example.
Yeah.
Which would be different again.
But again, I think in the context we're talking about here, which is around collaborative working together, just understanding each other, it's a basic emotional intelligence, isn't it? How do I work? Do I know myself? How do they work? Do I know them? And how do we connect the two? And as you say, I can work this way and it's okay. As long as the other person knows that, they know they won't get a reply till later. And they're not then thinking, why aren't they replying to me? They just know, I send my emails, but they reply to them later on because that's when they're more connected. So, I think those core principles are, anything to do with collaboration or partnering with people, that's really key. Owen, what about you? What are the key things that you think?
Yeah, I think transparency over mutual benefit is a really, really important approach. I feel it's important for me to show whoever I partner with why I'm doing this, what is it I'm trying to achieve, and equally for me to see what they're trying to do and what they're trying to achieve, so that we have an understanding in terms of how we can push this forward together as a partnership, without there being any uncertain inconsistencies with the reasoning behind we go forward with a particular project or with a service, for example. For me, that's really important to know and to share in that mutual understanding. I'm not talking about partnering with a company and then saying exactly how much money we're both making from it, but it's about the vision. It's about the reasoning behind why are we doing this? Why should we go into a partnership? I think for me that's really, really important factor to consider.
Yeah, and certainly if you're going to any kind of formal partnership, transparency is absolutely crucial. That's where I've heard stuff going wrong, where there isn't the transparency at the beginning, and then actually you're, several months in and you realise, oh my goodness, this isn't working because we didn't know this about each other. And
with the formalities, when you're talking about a formal partnership, is having an end goal in sight and both of you having the same goal, or being aware of each other's goals and making sure that they both work, so that not one person or one side of the party is not getting what they want from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you, Ray. What about you? What's the important stuff when you've been setting up partnerships with people?
Yeah, well, I think I had to think really carefully about how I approach the partnerships from the outset, because as a charity, we were asking for people's time, for their expertise or their services, and pretty much most of that was for free. So I had to be very careful to take those partners on a bit of a journey, really understand their background, what their stories were in a way. So it was kind of like, tell me about your background, so I could really understand their own experiences, and then talk more about the Mix as an organisation, and then help them to understand the programme, what we were delivering, and how we hoped they may be able to add value. And most importantly, trying to find what their sweet spot was. So if they were keen to get involved, we wanted to make sure we got them involved in areas of the organisation or the charity that really brought value to their life. So they actually wanted to come back for more and wanted to get more engaged. And I think also it was also important to just be sure that they had the time to make that commitment, because we obviously wanted them involved, and we appreciated that they were busy running their business or had a job of their own. So I didn't want to overstretch their resources. So they then felt disappointed that they couldn't deliver what they hoped to do. So it was kind of really very much finding the balance that was right for them and that was right for us, to give the maximum impact for the young people and for them as individuals to get as much out of it too.
Yeah, so what you're talking about there is this real sense of listening to one another right at the beginning, to understand perspectives, understand what you can and can't bring to it, so that you, as you move the partnership forward, you've not got unrealistic expectations or setting yourself up for disappointment by partnering something that then someone can't deliver.
Absolutely, Colin. So it was about, for me, communication, absolutely, from the outset, and the real deep listening to understand where they are, and in order for us to get across what we wanted to see, what we could gain from working together. That's absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. So once someone's established a partnership, it's how we keep that partnership going to continue to be of mutual benefit. Some of the articles that I've been reading on this talk about some key things, and I just wonder whether any of these that I'm going to mention now that you guys have found the same, or whether you found one rises above another, or whether there's something different. So 5 key areas that I could see was a common thread in a number of articles was about open communication. And we've actually touched on that a little, particularly around that listening, but also around transparency. Accessibility, in other words, you are accessible to each other, and there's that availability, but also a flexibility is the third one, that ability to kind of adapt, to move and support each other. Something of mutual benefit was the fourth one. And then the fifth one was measurable results, in terms that you can actually measure and see the benefit of you partnering and collaborating with one another. So what have you found to be some of the key things that make a partnership continue to work? Rachel, what about you? Are there anything out of those 5, or is there something different?
Yeah, well, obviously, I can't disagree with those.
Or because they were in an article? Or because I said them? Or
Colin has spoken.
Yeah.
No, obviously, open communication is key, in that it's two-way, and that we're listening to hear rather than just listening to then be able to speak. Accessibility, flexibility, mutual benefit, measurable results. Yes, I agree with all of those. But I would also go to more basic things such as trust, honesty, integrity, expectations and standards. I think they're quite key for me, that you have a similarity in the way in which you approach your work and the quality of your work, what your expectations are around that.
So in one sense, if you're going to have that, there's almost this sense that to make this partnership work, you're constantly revisiting and checking that actually you have that similarity of work. You're continuing to build trust with one another, which will have integrity as part of that kind of vulnerability and courage to share things with one another. Constantly checking those then is an important aspect to keep it working.
Yeah, I think so. And also something I read recently by Adam Grant, organisational psychologist. It's really interesting about the functioning of teams being key around conversations that are task focused, so taking the emotion out of conversation. So the conversation isn't specifically about me, for example, but it's about the task that I've undertaken, so that I can't take anything personally. It's purely about the task. I think that's quite important as well, and that we're all fallible. We're not trying to pick holes in each other, but we're trying to improve our work. And I think those conversations can be tricky to have if they're not approached in the right way.
Yeah.
So, putting work and effort into open communication and that vulnerability piece, and keeping things task-focused rather than person-focused.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Owen, what about you? Are any of those rise particularly for you?
Yeah, I mean, I find the values of each of these points, in terms of which is more important, depends on the type of partner that you're looking at, the type of, the reasoning that you go into something. I mean, for me, I go down to a very basic level when it comes to building a relationship with someone, as to will this be a positive experience? And it's all about trying to find the positive, being pulled towards the positive experiences and being pulled away from the negative experiences, because you could have a fantastic partnership or a fantastic opportunity that makes you a whole load of money, but the people that you work with you can't stand, they make you unhappy, and that's not, you shouldn't leverage happiness over another value, or whether it be transactional or within a relationship. So for me, I suppose to add to that is really, what's the experience that you get from this, and that should be taken into consideration when building. Again, it depends on the partnership and the relationship that you're planning, but it should always be a positive outcome from a mental well-being perspective. Really, it's something you should avoid the negativity and be pushed towards positive experiences.
So again, it comes back to that key thing around core values and this sense, where do you build deep trust, actually, where there is this commonality of ethos that you're kind of talking about there, where there's this sense of, actually, this is a good experience. I'm actually enjoying working with this person. And for me, I think that is really important when you're setting it up, and also as it's going on. Is this working? Is this a positive experience? Is this person, there's a phrase, iron sharpens iron, actually, is this person enhancing me and making me better and sharper in a positive way? Or is actually, okay, they might be bringing this monetary benefit, but oh my word, that hour is always a nightmare. Because they're just so abrupt, or they think differently. So it's really important when we set it up and we monitor how it's going, that we're still checking that is of value in partnering. That's really helpful.
It's a really easy thing to miss, and to find yourself months later, catching yourself. I've been in this I've had this negative experience for such a long time without even really noticing, or it becoming normal. So it's something that needs reviewing regularly. You can tell that morals and values are top of my agenda when it comes to partnerships from my questions today.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And that's why you've been invited today. I mean, even in terms of, when we look at people that get invited onto the Leadership Lounge, it's because I've identified this sense of commonality. There'll be some diverse thinking that will come into it. But at the root of that sits this importance of moral character. And that's where you build those partnerships, isn't it?
Not what you expect from the IT guy, is it?
No, certainly. I do expect moral things from the IT guy, and particularly from you, Owen, in terms of from where our contact has been before and connection. So, it is about finding it comes back again. Where's the commonality around core purpose, isn't it, and values? But it should be one of the thing of the topic today is the power of partnering, and one of the powers of partnering is it should make us feel good. We should have this enhanced feeling from working together. It should make us better and sharper. It should enhance our thinking. It should allow us to look at things differently. But at the root of it should be a good experience and a positive experience for either, particularly for your organisation that you're working for, but equally for you as a person. There should be a joy or benefit from it. And that's my hope whenever we meet on the Leadership Lounge. The guests normally afterwards, as the videoing stops, go, actually, I've really enjoyed that. And there should be this sense as we partner that we enjoy that experience too. And if we're not enjoying the experience of partnering with someone, then maybe there's a question we need to ask for ourselves. Actually, is this a positive partnership? Okay, and on that note, actually, we come towards the end of our time on this month's Leadership Lounge. As the good old phrase, doesn't time fly when you're having fun? And so we come to that moment where I ask you, what are your top tips for partnering so that you get the best from your partnerships? The one thing that you think you want listeners to really come away with. So, Rachel, if we start with you, what is your top tip for partnering?
Top tips for partnering for me would be that bedrock of honesty, open communication, and shared values. But then Owen has just made me think, actually, the one thing that during this difficult year and working so intensely with my partner is having a sense of humour, that shared sense of humour. That it's an enjoyable process, it's a positive process. And even on the dark days when it's been tough, we've had a laugh. And, that's the sort of thing that gets you up in the morning again. So, right, come on, we can do this. We can crack on. We can keep going. So I'm going to pop that one in there. So thank you, Owen, for making me think of that.
Yeah, that's great. And I think maybe for all of us, as we hear that one and we reflect, actually, yeah, where have my best partnerships been, either with colleagues that I've been working with or external partnerships I've built up, is this sense that actually we've had a bit of fun with it, and we've had a bit of a laugh, and it has made us smile, even perhaps at the darkest moments. So that's a great top tip for us. Thank you. Owen, what about you? Has she just nicked the one that you were gonna share? Or do you have
no. I do have something else. Go and speak to your competitors. I know I mentioned it earlier.
Yeah.
Go and speak to your competitors with an open mind. Don't tell them all your secrets, but build a relationship with them, because you will find that there is no competition. There is no competition. It's you will be able to find a mutual understanding, the ability to potentially pass work to each other, pass ideas to each other, and build from that relationship. As someone who's done that with many IT companies in the area, it's been nothing but good, a positive outcome.
Great. And a really, good top tip there. And perhaps something that people haven't necessarily thought of. Maybe they're in that mindset that actually I can't partner with competitors, but actually, go and give it a try.
Absolutely can.
Owen's found it to be really beneficial. So another great top tip. Thank you. Ray, what about you? What's your top tip?
Yeah, I think from my perspective as working with a charity, the main thing from the outset was really building that connection with that individual or that business from the outset. And then you're in such a great place to keep continuing to invest in that partnership with the open communication that we've already talked about, which for me has been so, so important. And then along that journey, also with the partnerships, particularly when our partnerships have been very much of a giving partnership to us, it's been really important to recognise the partnerships for the value they've added, for us to share our appreciation of their contribution, and actually, more importantly, the difference they made to the project and to those young people's lives and their next steps. So that would be in a nutshell for me.
Yeah, I love that bit at the end. What a great way to end as well, just to be able to recognise the difference the partnership has made and tell people that and encourage them through it, helping them just to see, actually, I've enhanced something, which brings a sense of purpose. And if we're not saying thank you to our partners and saying, this is the difference you've made, and that doesn't just mean as charities, does it? Actually, with just saying as people in business, being able to say to each other, actually, it's been great having this conversation because this has really helped me in this way, or just wanted you to know that 3 weeks ago when we had that chat, this is how it's helped me. And that ability, it builds continued connection, doesn't it, in that saying thank you and this is the difference you've made. So thank you, Ray. Another great top tip and a nice way to end our podcast for this month. So, guys, our time has ended. I just want to thank my guests for coming along, being part and sharing some of their thinking. So, my thanks to Rachel, Owen, and Ray for your wise thinking on this. Thank you to listeners too for joining us again, and we look forward to joining you with you next month in the Leadership Lounge to hear our next topic. So, thank you, guys. Thank you for joining us.